Hey guys, Chris from Provo Beast Audio Installation, and in today's video we're going to be replacing the factory speakers in this 2004 Toyota Tacoma. Now in this install, we're going to show you how to replace these factory speakers with an aftermarket set. Let's get started. Now, before we jump into things, just a couple of things to note from factory. The front door size is a mid-bass or mid-range 6x8 inch speaker. It's not a 6x9, it's a 6x8. Now up here we also have a 1-inch tweeter from factory as well. So technically we do have a component set. Now it's totally up to you whether you replace one or the other. In general circumstances, we do recommend doing it as a component set where you do both the mid-range and the tweeter together. However, depending on your budget and your install, you can just do a coaxial 6x8 in the factory location and call it good. Now, what we need to do is go ahead and get this door panel on off so we can expose our two speakers. It's pretty easy and straightforward. We're going to have two Phillips behind these little panels. We can get up underneath these little covers and pop them out to expose those Phillips. We have a Phillips right inside our door handle. Then everything else within the door is just held on with clips. Now lastly, up here at the cell panel, we will also pop that on off. Now I do have a little angled pick tool to kind of get in there from the bottom. You can use a flathead screwdriver, pop your little covers off. You're gonna have two Phillips screws in each one of these holes. Alright, so at this point with these screws done and this screw up and out of the way, now before we start pulling on the door panel, we do need to remove this, guys. So if we push them forward towards the front of the truck, you'll see it unclip and then kind of give it a tug, work it on out. This is your door panel handle, and there's going to be a little clip in here that we do need to disconnect. Okay, so that's on off here. Now looking a little closer, we just have to unsnap this from up and around the shaft. It slides out of the way and then it unhooks right from that hole. Alright, so everything is out of the way for us to now start unsnapping the clips in the door panel up and around the bottom. So we had a couple of harnesses we had to disconnect. You press in these tabs, also with the tweeter here. They slide on out, and this comes totally free. Right, here's our factory 6x8 inch speaker. Now the cool thing is with our install here today, we don't need any brackets or any adapters. We can just simply replace the speaker. However, we're not going to do it here at the door. We're going to take this entire bracket off and take it over to the bench to show you how we're going to mount up our new aftermarket 6x8 in this factory location. Okay, disconnect your whole bracket assembly. Okay, let's go ahead and head over to the bench to show you the parts that we're going to need for our install. Alright, so we're here at the bench. The parts that we're going to go with is the speakers themselves. Now, you can find adapter brackets and harnesses, but today's install, we're actually going to show you how you don't need any of those and still make it a plug-and-play type system. The speakers themselves are these Pioneer 6x8 inch speakers. They're the TSA6880F. They come in a pair, and this will match greatly with the aftermarket radio we're installing in a separate video. What we're going to do is get these all pulled apart. We're going to disassemble our factory bracket here to show you how everything's going to come together. As we have removed our speaker, we cut off the soldered ends here. Now fortunately for us, on this harness plug, this is basically the harness adapter we would need generally for an install. Since this comes separately and there's plenty of length here, we can actually use this as a harness adapter. Now additionally, our Pioneers came with these pigtail ends here, where these ends will go to the new terminals of the speaker, and this one will wire in wherever it needs to go. In our case, we just need to connect these together. For those connections, we're going to be soldering these. Now, black on this side is negative, red is positive. On this side, negative is going to be the white with a black stripe. Positive is the solid wire, solid color. Now you can use crimp caps, you can solder and heat shrink, and you can even use buck connectors. Just don't twist these together. You could also solder these directly onto the speaker leads. That's an option as well. Regardless, you want to make sure there's a good connection so you don't have a short in the door. Now additionally here, as you put this in, you're going to notice it doesn't sit 100% flat. See that? It's just not there. The plastic here is just a little bit in the way, as our factory 6x8 has a more shallow basket design. So we're going to use a multi-tool and just do a little bit of trimming in here, so our new 6x8 will fit in the factory location nice and flush. Alright, so we went ahead and made that trim here. Trim is least amount as possible here, but we trimmed what we needed, and now that's going to allow us to perfectly seat our speaker. It's nice and flat all the way around, and we can bolt it up to those factory screw locations. Before we do so though, while this is out, we're going to go ahead and solder up our new harness adapter. Alright, so we got these all soldered up here. Now we've taped everything, so those are all insulated, and we're going to use some Tessa tape and relume our harness. Alright, so we are done here. There's our harness. Everything's mounted nice and flush. Flip this guy on over. Meter cut so it sits nice and flat. Our harness is all hooked up. That's it. This will just plug right back into the factory harness. So that's all we need for our speaker mount here. Now you may be asking, well, why aren't we replacing the tweeter? Well, we've decided in this case, based on the age of truck and the budget of the customer, we just went ahead and did a full range coaxial there in the lower door. We will actually keep the factory tweeter plugged in. Now if your radio has any issue running that in parallel because it's going to drop the impedance, just unplug the tweeter and just leave it as is. You can replace the tweeter. You can also put a component set in as well. If you choose to do a component set, we'll add those additional parts and our recommended speakers down in the description of the video in case you want to do those at home. So with this done and completed, let's head back to the car to get it installed. Okay, so we got the speaker all mounted here. Now it's always a great idea to double check it, make sure it's working properly. The wire doesn't get pinched. We use the factory little channel in the bracket itself. So our speaker wire goes through there just as it did with the OEM speaker. And everything seems to be working great. And like I mentioned before, this is the harness to the tweeter. The tweeter is located actually within the door panel itself. Now, here is our factory tweeter. You can replace this here. We'll flip this on over. This is what it looks like from behind. Now, the factory tweeter is a 2-watt, 4-ohm factory speaker. You can take this all apart, use this bracket as your mounting location for your aftermarket tweeter. Now, you may not be able to get one to mount perfectly in that location, but you can be creative here and use this bracket to secure it in place. And same thing like we used with our mid-range, you can go ahead and modify this harness so you have a plug and play for your tweeter as well. So again, just your call here how you want to get that all done. My suggestion is if you're going to do a nice component set, get one that has a nice flush mount here, so you can pop out the factory grill and insert yours in its place. That's about it for this install. If you have any questions on what we did here, post a comment below. Now, if you want to see how we did the rear speakers, we have a video on that which walks you through step by step on how to replace it on a double cab, where we do have the 4-door cab model. Now, if you do have an extended cab or the single cab, the extended cab does have also 6x8 inch speakers. Your single cab may or may not have rear speakers, and if they do, again, they're all 6x8s. Now, we also have other installs on this truck, whether it be a radio install, backup camera install, or an amp and sub install. We'll link all those other videos down in the description as well. Thanks again for watching. Be sure to hit the like button if you like what you saw, and don't forget to subscribe. Post great content on the channel all the time, and we will see you in the next video.